Hello everyone. Welcome to Career Mantras channel, the channel where we delve into the intricacies of the corporate world and the secret sauce to climbing the corporate ladder. I'm your host RK, and today we are going to talk something about which will make or break your career, the personal branding. Let's set the stage with a scenario many of us are too familiar with. It may be an onshore position, or maybe it's a situation where your company is going through a reorganization. Your heart races as you think, this is it. This is my moment. You're confident that you are the most qualified person for the job or the role. You've got the skills and the experience. But then what happens? Someone else, someone else with a lesser talent and experience gets a job. You're disappointed. While favoritism and corporate politics can sometimes play a role, they are not the whole story. Imagine you are on the other side of the table, tasked with making that crucial decision. What would influence you? In my opinion, what often tips the scales is the personal branding. It's not just about how talented you are, but it's about how talented the other people perceive you to be for the role. It's about the narrative you've built around yourself. So stick around as we dive deeper into the world of personal branding and how one can leverage it to climb the corporate ladder. Personal branding. The term itself can conjure up all sorts of images. For some, it's like the corporate version of a selfie, always about showing your best side, even if it's all filters and no substance. I remember my days as a developer, the good old times, when I thought personal branding was just the refuge of the not so talented. You know, the folks who couldn't code their way out of a paper bag, but could talk their way into a SpaceX launch. But let's be honest, we have all heard these things. Empty vessels make more noise. Or my personal favorite, let your work speak for itself. Which is great, except work is notoriously bad at public speaking. I mean, have you ever seen a PowerPoint presentation deliver itself at a conference meeting? Then there are those who are like, I get it, personal branding is important, but where do I even start? Do I need a catchphrase? Should I start wearing a signature color? Should I hire a hype man or woman to follow me? Jokes aside, personal branding is neither a gimmick nor a luxury. It is a necessity. And whether you're a skeptic or just don't know where to start, we are there to guide you through it. So stay tuned as we debunk the myths and give you actionable tips on how to build your personal brand that's as authentic as it is impactful. Personal branding is all about perceptions. Why is perceptions important? Simply because people don't have time. People have cognitive load limits. What does that mean? On a daily life, every one of your stakeholders is busy with so many number of things which is occupying their attention, both in their personal and professional life. And the easiest way they can manage their life is to have shortcuts, which is the perceptions. Once the perceptions are formed, they manage their life, they manage their work and personal life by using their perceptions and making decisions. So it comes to the most crucial aspect of it. Who writes the story of your life? Are you going to let some random perceptions write the story? Or are you going to work through a definite personal brand which will define the perception about you with your stakeholders? Think about it. Now that you have seen the myths of personal branding and why personal branding is required, let's move into the what of the personal branding. Personal branding is not about every Tom, Dick, and Harry, or in the Indian context, should I say Ram, Rahim, and Robert know who you are. It's about the right people knowing the right things about you consistently and recalling it. Let's break it down quickly. First, it's not about everybody knowing you. It's not about being popular. It's about the right people, the right stakeholders, the influencers, the decision makers knowing about you at the right time. Second, it's not about knowing everything about you. It's about knowing your strengths, the value additions, the activities that you have done, which are crucial and where you excel at it. And why should they know it? They should know it so that if there's an opportunity, you are at the top of their recall. And they get the feeling that, I just know the right person for this one. So, if you have been treating personal branding like a cheap stunt, it's time to elevate your game. Because the right perception in the minds of the right people can open doors you never existed. Stay tuned. In the next section, we will dive into the actionable steps to build a personal brand. Now, let us see the six mantras for personal branding. Number one, deliver consistent value. Number two, know who are your crucial stakeholders. Number three, starters, the blogs. Number four, go a notch up, do workshops. Number five, execute a spike, the client visits. Number six, SOS, a new lens. And the magic number seven, outside the six mantras, are the human channels. Step one, understand the consistent value you deliver. The first step is to ensure that you know what your strengths are. What are the few things that you consistently do which adds value to your program or the project or the business unit? The typical mistake we make is to undervalue what we do, our daily core jobs. For example, somebody who is consistently delivering the projects or the tasks on time itself is a great value which should not be ignored. If you are a manager, managing the client expectations would be a consistent value. Or it could be the opportunities that you manage and have a higher conversion rate. So, step one is most crucial to ensure there is an authenticity of who you are, what strengths you have, and what is that core which can be branded. Two, know your stakeholders. This is very crucial to avoid getting into the trap of being famous but not being known for a specific thing to specific stakeholders. If you are confident about what is the value you add to your organization or the unit or the project, it's very important you let the crucial stakeholders know that. So try to understand who are these crucial stakeholders. What are the channels of consumption? Meaning, how do they get information about people? Who are their influencers? Sometimes you cannot reach out directly to all the stakeholders, but you can ensure that you are branding yourself to certain stakeholders who will influence your crucial stakeholders. What are their pains and gains? So, what activities pains them? What activities gains give gains to them? So, if you know these things, then you can try to pick those activities or those values that you add, which will contribute to their gains and also maybe reduce the pain they have. So, step number two, know your stakeholders. Having known your stakeholders, you have to start somewhere. The easiest thing you can do is to start writing blogs. I know many of us have the writer's block, and thanks to the chat GPT, if you can jot down your thoughts as 10 or 12 points, chat GPT gives you a wonderful blog that you can publish. Ensure that you publish your learnings, your experiences, your point of views to a wider audience through the medium of blogs. Blogs have another advantage. They're fairly persistent. Even after 3 years, people can still access your blog and know who you are consistently on this. If you want to raise your stake, your brand to the next level, workshops are a great mediums to do it. You can conduct a workshop wherein you can explain what you're good in terms of certain specific statements that you have solved and what is a path you took, or even conduct a training program based on that. For example, if you're very good in coming up with a strategy, then you can conduct a half a day program of how one can create a strategy for a specific client or a specific product. If you are a developer, for example, and if you have mastered the concept of incremental design, you can conduct a workshop on the incremental design and take it to a wider audience. Workshops help you to give the deep impact. of what is that you've learned and what is that you stand for. That information, when it goes to stakeholders, have a powerful recall and about the personal brand and the value that you add. Client visits are a gold mine. Most of your stakeholders will have a lot of stake in ensuring the client visits are successful. And usually, your client visits multiple vendors apart from you. If it's not a client, it could be somebody higher ups in your organization who could be visiting it. So think about what is that you can contribute to the client visit, which will get the attention of your stakeholders. For starters, you can even volunteer to present the case study of the project, or you can pair with your technical architect or your project manager in presenting the case study of the project. Or even worse, you can act as a scribe for the client visit to ensure that all the inputs are captured and presented back. If you have sufficient expertise gained, you may also want to even to talk to the client directly, engage with the client in a very active way, which will have very high returns. Your stakeholders and the clients will remember you for a very long time of who you are and what you stand for. This is even if the client doesn't come back and give you a new project. Even then, your stakeholder will still remember because you have helped him or her to be successful in the client visit. SOS or the critical situations. One of the stereotypes or the myths that we have is that we should not get into the critical situations because there is a heavy escalation and you might be caught in the firing lines. Why even the trouble? Let's play safe. Let's not get into the SOS situation. I think you are completely wrong. SOS situations or the critical situations gets into the radar of your crucial stakeholders. Anybody who goes into the SOS situation and improves it gets amazing benefits in terms of their career in SOS situation. So if you have an SOS situation in your project or in the, let's say, the neighboring project, try to see what is that you can add to improve the situation and ensure that as you contribute to the SOS situation, you are able to represent what you did to your stakeholders or to their influencers. I'm sure there is a problem which needs to be solved technically, or probably a plan which needs to be made, or you need to pull a couple of people from the other projects, or probably you have to partner with a business analyst or the manager to draw process maps. Think about what is that you are good at and try to contribute to the SOS situation using those strengths. The last mantra, which is outside the six mantras, are the human channels. Many times you do not have access to the stakeholders every time you want, but the stakeholders will have many other ears, many other influences whom they rely on. When it's about the information about people, you should ensure that you are able to frequently meet these influences and express what you did and what value added consistently, or even provide help to these influencers. Believe me, this will go in a long way to ensure that the emotional connect between the personal brand you have and the information that goes to our stakeholders is very strong. So here we go. We spoke about why personal branding is not just about being famous and why is it important in a crowded world. We spoke about the personal branding being the creating the right impression with the right stakeholders at the right time. And we discussed the six mantras, the ability to deliver consistent value, ensuring that you are able to understand your stakeholders, start writing blogs, conduct workshops to go a notch up, participate in SOS situations and critical things, partner for client visits, last but not the least, focus on the human channels. If you are able to do these things consistently in 6 months, you will find that you are able to build your personal brand very consistently. So that's it for the current podcast. If you like this video, please do share and importantly subscribe to this channel Career Mantras. We hope to get in touch with you with many more new content in the next coming weeks.